Remote viewing project confirms claims of a German secret space program based on Ceres and indigenous insectoids battling human supersoldiers on Mars.
You are listening to Exopolitics Today with Dr. Michael Salla, your source for the uncensored truth regarding the human, extraterrestrial, global, and political agenda. Click the like button and subscribe to this channel. And now, here's Dr. Michael Salla.
In early 2022, Tony Rodrigues published his book, Ceres Colony Cavalier, in which he described in detail his 20 and back experiences as a slave, both on Mars as a military auxiliary fighting against indigenous insectoids, and then serving with a German-led dark fleet. Rodrigues' book came to the attention of Dr. Courtney Brown, who subsequently organized a remote viewing project to investigate two of the book's core claims. The results greatly surprised Dr. Brown, who concluded Rodrigues' testimony was accurate and carried much significance for full disclosure. First, a brief overview of Rodrigues' story is appropriate. His traumatizing experiences began in 1981 when he was only 9 years old and in 4th grade. Rodrigues was involuntarily recruited into a 20 and back program as punishment for something he did to one of his classroom peers. He publicly embarrassed the son of a high-level member of the Illuminati, who used his influence to have Rodrigues covertly recruited. Rodrigues says that he was soon after abducted by 3 grey aliens and 1 small reptilian ET. He was then genetically tested to determine what skills he possessed, which could be used in covert support programs and eventually for one of the secret space programs once he got older. Ceres Colony Cavalier describes in detail how Rodrigues was subsequently manipulated, sexually abused, and humiliated as a slave used by different individuals and groups. After briefly serving on Mars as a slave fighter for a mercenary military force protecting corporate bases from indigenous Martians, which included highly intelligent insectoids, Rodrigues says he was taken to Ceres, a planetoid in the asteroid belt. He worked at Ceres for 13 years with a German-led freighter crew that was part of the Dark Fleet. For more about Rodrigues' experiences, check out my earlier interviews with him. In setting up the remote viewing project to investigate Rodrigues' core claims, Dr. Brown emphasized that it would incorporate blind scientific protocols. None of the 4 expert remote viewers knew anything about the targets or subjects being investigated, nor did Dr. Brown contact Rodrigues or communicate with him. The 2 targets for the remote viewing sessions were Target 1, the interior of the asteroid Ceres. Target 2, the interaction between the personality currently known as Tony Rodrigues and the bugs on Mars as described on pages 185 to 193 in his book Ceres Colony Cavalier. In the first part of the remote viewing session, the 4 remote viewers also focused on several characters, locations and ships identified in the book. The remote viewers were only given alphanumeric targets, locations and subjects such as Target 1, Subject K, etc. Only Dr. Brown knew what the alphanumerics corresponded to in terms of the material discussed in Ceres Colony Cavalier. After the 4 remote viewers, Intia Sam, Assis Brown, Shantae and Princess Jenny shared the visuals of what they had seen concerning Target 1, the base on Ceres, and the different subjects, locations, etc., Dr. Brown offered the following synopsis.
Okay, so it seems like the asteroid or planetoid known as Ceres has quite a bit of hollowed out interior. There is a base on the inside. Moreover, it seems like there is some support for the memories of Tony Rodrigues that suggests that the base has a number of extraterrestrial species, and that the administration of the base is done by former Europeans, indeed former German Nazis. Apparently, pulling pieces together, these are the same Nazis that we reported on in the Farsight Mysteries project called Operation High Jump, a slave mercenary military force that was organized by the reptilians. Understand that such Nazis are ISBs just like anyone else, so they can be placed in new bodies as each body wears out, so having former Nazis still hanging about is entirely possible.
This is remarkable independent corroboration for Tony Rodrigues' core claim that he spent 13 years serving on a merchant marine spacecraft operating out of a large underground base on the planetoid Ceres. Crucially, the remote viewing confirmed that the base and vessel were controlled by former German Nazis that operated a secret space program called the Dark Fleet that Rodrigues and others have described. The second half of the Farsight remote viewing project focused on Rodrigues' claim of a military engagement with intelligent insectoids on Mars. Once again, the remote viewers were only given alphanumeric terms to investigate the target and subjects that Dr. Brown was seeking information about, for example, Target 2, Subject A, etc. After the 4 remote viewers described the military engagement on Mars with the insectoids in terms that closely matched what Rodrigues described in Ceres Colony Cavalier, here's what Dr. Brown concluded.
So, what can we say to pull things together? From our point of view, our data seem to indicate the activities, places, and events that are reported by Tony Rodrigues in his book, Ceres Colony Cavalier, actually exist and happened. Now, let's be clear that we only check 2 things, the existence of the base inside Ceres and the activities on Mars reported by Mr. Rodrigues. But given the significance and centrality of those 2 things in his writings, it seems a reasonable bet to say that the rest of the things described in the book by Mr. Rodrigues have a high probability of being accurately described as well, which, given what he says regarding some of those other things, is more than a little bit bone-chilling. Nonetheless, it is what it is.
It is vital not to underestimate the importance of Dr. Brown's conclusion here. Independent investigation by multiple expert remote viewers had just confirmed Rodrigues' core claims about his involuntary service on Mars and Ceres. While this did not confirm the entire scope of Rodrigues' book, it did point to the high likelihood of its accuracy, especially when it came to claims of slave labour. On the topic of slave labour, Dr. Brown went on to make some vital points to keep in mind.
Now, it is natural to ask what can be done to stop these things from happening. These 20-year long-term abductions into slavery, or at least to influence these things in a positive manner. There really is only one thing that can change all of this: disclosure. The negative or oppressive extraterrestrials can get away with all of this for one reason and one reason only. They are doing it secretly, apparently with the consent of some human authorities. As long as the bulk of humanity sticks its head in the sand, they will keep doing it. The disclosure, that is the single thing that is needed to pull humanity back into the driver's seat.
Dr. Brown is correct that only full disclosure can prevent this covert program that involves the exploitation of abducted individuals used as slaves from continuing in the future. Secrecy makes such exploitation possible, and only full transparency can bring about the end of such abusive practices. The rest of humanity needs to wake up to the big picture of how extraterrestrial life has long been interacting with us, led to the creation of multiple secret space programs, and how these battling entities involve both positive and negative factions. In the meantime, I highly recommend reading Tony Rodrigues' Ceres Colony Cavalier to understand what is happening to slaves in space and on Earth, and watching Farsight's latest remote viewing project, Supersoldiers of Ceres. This has been Dr. Michael Sala with Exopolitics Today. On April 9, I will be holding my next live webinar, which focuses on the arrival of extraterrestrial cedar races, activation of ancient arcs in our solar system, and finally, the great reveal, which is about to happen. More information is available on exopolitics.org. Please remember to like and subscribe to my Exopolitics Today podcast.